Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Pastor Rick Utze from Maranatha Community Fellowship in Plain City, Ohio. How many of you know what mustering is? And no, it's not something you do to your sandwich or put on your sandwich. It's basically what they call rounding up cattle in Australia. And they use helicopters to do it because, the land area is so huge, so big, that they can't just send horses and four-wheelers or whatever out there and get them because it would just take too long. So they use these little helicopters to fly out and to start rounding up these cattle and driving them back to what they call the station or the ranch. And, when they were doing this the other day, one of the mustering pilots, actually had to go down real close to the cows. When they're stubborn and don't want to move, you actually got to literally go right down almost on them. And it's kind of neat to see them maneuver these helicopters. But when he did that, the rail got caught in the cow's horns and it threw the helicopter off balance, and so it crashed into the ground, and he was able to get out, and the helicopter burned up. It was nothing but a blackened shell of itself when it was all said and done. And the cow was okay, the pilot was okay, everything turned out okay, except the poor helicopter was absolutely burnt to a crisp. And when I was, watching, or actually read this and then watched what happens when they do this kind of thing, it reminded me of a show I watched on northern Australia, how there's dangers there, especially up in the north. There's heat, and there's crocodiles, and there's, sharks in the ocean, and these box jellyfish, and all these dangers that are around. It seems kind of odd that a cow brought down a helicopter. You wouldn't think of a cow as being that big a danger. But it reminded me of Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the good shepherd." And he is a shepherd over his sheep, who are those who are called by his name. Those of us Christians who believe on Jesus Christ are his sheep. In John 10, it says in verse 3, to him the gatekeeper opens. This is talking about Jesus. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. And when he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. So it's talking about the good shepherd leads his sheep out of the pen. He comes through the door. He is not a thief. He is one that gently leads his sheep, leads them to good pasture, leads them out, protects them. And it says, if you go on down to verse 11, it says, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me." So Jesus is the owner of the sheep. He's the good shepherd. He's not the hired hand. When danger comes, he runs. Jesus, as a matter of fact, says later on in chapter 10 that nobody can snatch us out of God's hand. We are there for he cares about our good and our welfare. He loves us so much. And here's the bottom line. That pilot who laid down that helicopter, he didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident, and it ended badly for the helicopter. Luckily, he survived. But Jesus says that no one takes the life from him. He said, "I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down. I have authority to take it up again. This I have received from my Father." See, Jesus didn't have to die. And it wasn't because men were mad at him that he died and was crucified. It's because Jesus laid his own life down, because he loved us so much, to rescue us from our sin and shame and guilt, so that we could have life everlasting. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Bottom Line.